Chapter 17. What a day this has been, Sara thought as she walked towards Solomon's thicket. I hate school, Sara blurted out loud as she slipped back into the feeling of anger that had begun the very moment she had walked into the school grounds. She walked along, looking mostly down at her feet, recalling the details of this wet day. She had arrived at the front gate at the same moment that the school bus arrived, and when the bus driver opened the doors, a herd of rowdy boys had almost mowed Sara down, bumping her from every direction, causing her to drop her books, spilling the contents of her bag, and worst of all, her theme paper for Mr. Jorgensen had been literally trampled. Sara gathered the crumpled, muddy papers into a pile and stuffed them into her bag. That's what I get for caring what stupid paper looks like, Sara had grumbled, now regretting having taken time to rewrite it a second time before folding it carefully and putting it into her book bag. Still trying to get things back together as she walked through the big front doors, Sara wasn't moving fast enough for Miss Webster. Move along, Sara. I don't have all day. The slender and mostly hated third-grade teacher had snapped at Sara. Excuse me for being alive, Sara had muttered under her breath. Good grief. Sara must have looked at her watch 100 times during the day, counting the minutes to some freedom from this rampage of meanness. And then, at last, the final bell rang and Sara was free. I hate school. I really hate school. How can something that feels so terrible be of any value to anyone? Out of habit, Sara made her way to Solomon's thicket, and as she made the last turn into Thacker's trail, Sara thought, this is the very worst mood I've been in ever, especially since meeting Solomon. Solomon, Sara complained, I hate school. I think it's a waste of time. Solomon was very quiet. It's like a cage that you can't get out of, and the people in the cage are mean and are looking for ways to hurt you all day long. Still no comment from Solomon. It's bad enough when the kids are mean to each other, but teachers are mean too, Solomon. I don't think they like being there either. Solomon just sat there staring. Only the occasional blinking on his big yellow eyes let Sara know that he wasn't sound asleep. A tear slipped down Sara's cheek, and her frustration welled up within her. Solomon, I just want to be happy, and I don't think I will ever be happy at school. Well then, Sara, I think you'd better get out of town, too. Sara looked up, startled by Solomon's sudden comment. What did you say, Solomon? Get out of town too? Yes, Sara. If you're leaving your school because there are some negative things there, then I think you should get out of town too and get out of this state and out of this country and off the face of this earth, even out of the universe. And now, Sara, I don't know where to send you. Sara was confused. This didn't seem like solution-seeking Solomon she had come to know and love. Solomon, what are you saying? Well, Sara, I discovered that in every single particle of the universe, there is that which is wanted and the lack of it. In every person, in every situation, in every place, in every moment, those choices are always there. Ever present. So you see, Sara, if you're leaving one place or circumstance because there is negative in it, the next place you go will be pretty much the same. You're not making me feel better, Solomon. It feels hopeless. Sara, your work is not to look for the perfect place where is the only thing you want exists. You want is to look for the things you want in every place. But why? What good does that do? Well, for one thing, you would feel better, and for another thing, as you begin to notice more things that you want to see, more of those things begin to become part of your experience. It gets easier and easier, Sara. But Solomon, aren't some places a lot worse than others? I mean, school is just the worst place in the world to be. Well, Sara, it's easier to find positive things in some places than others, but that can become a pretty big trap. What do you mean? When you see something you don't like and you decide to go somewhere else to get away from it, you usually take it with you. But Solomon, I wouldn't take those mean teachers or rotten kids with me. Well, maybe not those very same ones, Sara, but you would meet others very much like them everywhere you would go. Sara, remember, birds of a feather. Remember the light board. When you see things you don't like and you think about them and talk about them, you become like them. And then everywhere you go, they are there too. Solomon, I keep forgetting all of this. Well, Sara, it's natural to forget this because you're like most people who have learned to respond to conditions. If good conditions are around you, you respond by feeling good, but if there are bad conditions around you, you respond by feeling bad. Most people think that they must find perfect conditions, and once they find those perfect conditions, then they can respond by being happy. But that is very frustrating to people because they discover very soon that they cannot control the conditions. What you're learning, Sara, is that you aren't here to find perfect conditions. You are here to choose things to appreciate, which causes you to vibrate like the perfect conditions so that you can then attract perfect conditions. I guess, Sara sighed. This all seems too big to understand. Sara, it really isn't as complicated as it seems. In fact, people make it much more complicated to try to make sense of it all, of the conditions all that surround them. It can get very confusing if you try to figure out how very conditions is created, or which conditions are right and which ones are wrong. You can drive yourself crazy trying to sort all of that out. But if you will just pay attention to whether your valve is open or closed, then your life will be much simpler and much happier. My valve? What do you mean? Sara, in every moment, a stream of pure positive energy is flowing to you. You might say it is a bit like the water pressure in your house. That water pressure is always there, right up against your valve. And when you want water in your house, you open the valve and let the water flow in. But when the valve is closed shut, the water doesn't flow in. It's your work to keep this valve to being open. It's always there for you, but you must let it in. But Solomon, Sara protested, what good does it do for me to keep my valve open in school where everyone else is angry and mean? First of all, when your valve is open, you won't notice so much of the meanness, and some of it will change right before your eyes. There are many people who are sort of teetering on the edge of an open or closed valve, and when they come into contact with you and your valve is wide open, they easily join you in a smile or nice interchange. Also, you must remember that an open valve is not only affecting what is happening right now, it's affecting tomorrow and the next day. So the more good days that you're feeling good, the more conditions of tomorrow and the next day will be pleasing to you. Practice this, Sara. Make a decision that no condition, no matter how bad it seems to you in the moment, is worth your closing your valve. Decide that keeping your valve open is the most important thing. Here are some words to remember, Sara, and to say as often as you can. I'm going to keep my valve open anyway. Well, all right, Solomon, Sara replied meekly, feeling tentative about the whole thing, but remembering how much better things on the whole had been going since she had tried some of the other techniques Solomon had offered. I'll practice this. I hope it works, Sara called back over her shoulder as she left Solomon's thicket. It would certainly be nice to be able to feel good no matter what. That really is what I want.